Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Dusemay Jr. This is a stream where I comb the internet, going through a bunch of news reports, rumors, innuendo, sources close, breaking news, all that stuff, to bring all of that together onto one live stream and bring it to you all in one space. I search the internet so you don't have to. I peruse the timeline so you don't have to. I bring to you all the latest on Timeline T. Oh, it is a weird day. It feels like today is a calm before the storm. What storm? I'm really not sure, but it feels like today was such a slow news day, slow tea day, that it's like, usually when things are this slow, when you have the draft right around the corner, when you have NBA playoffs around the corner, things should not be this slow. Today is a slow news day. I am not going to lie to you. Today is a slow news day. But I went through my normal research and I found some tea, and there are some tea. The Carolina Panthers, you see there, Bryce Young to go first. Don't know, but a blue check boy is putting his name on it. Okay, so we're not getting sources close. We're not getting, a voice within the front office told me. We have a blue check boy, an OG blue check boy, putting his name on it. Tyreek Hill went on a radio program and said he's done. Not done as in now. He's not done, but soon come done. And he's going to retire at the end of his contract. We buying that? Or is this just, negotiating? Is this posturing? Is this trying to figure it out? We will try to get there and navigate that. And then lastly, the NBA playoffs. The Western Conference is wild right now. Clippers Lake Show last night. A very interesting game for a bunch of reasons, but the most important thing is the standings are now crazier than ever in the Western Conference. Are teams trying to avoid the Phoenix Suns? Is that a thing? We'll get there. So salute to those who have tapped in. Salute to those who are liking the video. Appreciate it. Tanya is driving. She's on the road. Okay, thank you for taking us with you today, Tanya. Always appreciate you pulling up. All right. And, no Lamar news yet. Somebody kind of went off on some Lamar stuff. I may get to it, I may not. It wasn't really earth-shattering information, just kind of using some of the stuff we've been talking about here, but maybe we'll get there. If you know of anything, yesterday we went in on Harbaugh and DaCosta in that whole press conference, which was a joke. So we went crazy on that yesterday. If you want to tap in and give your opinions on that, feel free. I could always pull that clip back up and get right back to it. So appreciative of Tanya being able to tap in with us. She's just listening today. She's driving around. So I'm glad I could be able to provide that soundtrack for, riding around. And we'll start off, though, with the Carolina Panthers. A blue check boy, an OG blue check boy jumped out there, and we'll go to the screen. Chris Mortensen, OG blue check boy on the four-letter network. He says straight up, Bryce Young is the pick. They, meaning the Panthers, all love Bryce Young. So now, if that's the case, and CJ Stroud is there for Houston at 2, do we need to go back to early in the week when we saw the Peter King article that said Houston may not take a QB at 2 if their QB is not there? Will Houston, in theory, take the second QB available? Depending on their board, of course, but Bryce Young seems to be the consensus. Although you have some CJ Stroud people as well. And there's even been a low-key push for Anthony Richardson. I would love that. Nothing would shake up the draft more than Anthony Richardson going number 1 overall. I'm here for it. I have someone that's tapped in, and even they put it out there on the Elon app and said, hey, I thought the move of them trading up to number 1 was to go get Anthony Richardson. He's not saying sources close or anything like that, but, you know, someone that is in the industry in those circles is out here saying, hey, don't be surprised if the Panthers jump out there and take AR-15 with the number 1 overall pick. But we have the OG Chris Mortensen for the network saying Bryce Young is the pick. Now, we have been going back and forth over what he can do, what he can't do. I will put up the same mock. Let's see, has that mock been updated? No, it has not. It still has CJ Stroud going number 1, and that still may be the case. Like, again, draft season is always rumor season. You can't believe everything you read, everything you hear, because I could pull up way more tabs of just innuendo, but I don't trust everything that I read on the timeline. That's why I try to comb through, and if I pull up something here, it's something I have then double backed and try to confirm at least multiple people reporting this stuff, because I don't want to bring up any old rumor here because there's so much fake stuff on the timeline that, you know, this stream would be 5 hours of just lies. So I try to comb through the lies so y'all don't have to. So do we believe that Bryce Young is really the pick at number 1? There could be a few things at play here. Could this be smoke and mirrors from the Panthers? Because there has been conversations of the Texans and the Panthers maybe doing a little switcheroo. Could this be a thing? Because if the Panthers, you know, if they're standing firm that they're going Bryce Young and the Texans want Bryce Young, what's that worth to them to flip one spot? This is where the draft can get wacky. This is where the draft can get crazy, because if the Panthers are set on, well, if we know Houston's taking Bryce Young, why are we taking CJ at 1? Then let's flip, play that game out, maybe get some more draft collateral on the back end to recoup what we had to trade the Bears to get, and see if we can, you know, make a move and play. If you call your bluff right, they might be able to trade down to 2 and still be able to get the guy that they ultimately want in CJ Stroud at 2. That could be a real possibility. Or do you play that cat and mouse game with the Colts at 4? Or are the Colts content that who they want will be available at 4? And if that's the case, like we've been talking about, does this make the 3rd pick the money spot? Because if you want, I wish we could play this out with our own draft board. I got to see if I can find that, maybe for tomorrow's stream. Okay, so let's assume Bryce Young's the pick at 1. Let's say the Texans don't want CJ. They take Will Anderson or whoever, right? But let's play it straight up. Let's go big board style and do it Will Anderson at 2. Now you're having the 3 spot where we would assume the Cardinals are not taking a quarterback. So CJ is still in play there. Now, the Colts could still sit and just wait for whichever QB, whether it's CJ, whether it's AR-15, or even if they want to jump out there and go take Will Levis there, they can just sit and wait for whoever falls to 4. Or now that 3 comes into play, because if you thought CJ was him, and he's still there at 3, now what are you willing to give up? Do the Raiders get in play? Do the Seahawks, who have multiple first-round picks, do they get into the mix? Pete Carroll's already said they are not opposed to taking the QB high. Is that where they go with that? There's a lot of scenarios here that could play out depending on what the Texans do. If the Panthers hold firm and take Bryce Young number 1 overall, the Texans have a choice to make. Is CJ the second guy on your big board? Are you drafting for a position, or are you drafting at need? Texans need a lot of things, but like we spoke about, whether it was yesterday or earlier in the week, they can survive with Davis Mills for another year or so. For sure, at least another year. I don't think it's imperative that they take a QB here if it's not the number one QB on their board. If CJ Stroud is like the third or fourth player on their board, why would you take him second overall? The math does not math, right? So you could, in theory, either take a defensive player here at 2, or you can mortgage this pick for whoever wants to slide up and get CJ at 2, trade down, get even more collateral. Like if they could go from 2 to 5, let's say Seattle says, holy shit, CJ's still there at 2. You know what? We got a plethora of picks thanks to Russell Wilson. We'll leverage that to move up to 2. And then if that's not the case, if they just hold firm and take a defensive player, if they take Will Anderson there at 2, now 3's in play. And who wants to go up to 3 to get CJ or to make sure whoever the Colts, you think the Colts want, and snatch him there? It could be a case where it goes Bryce, Will Anderson, CJ to whoever takes the 3 spot, and the Colts could still sit there and get AR-15 if that's who they want. The Colts need a quarterback. Yes, they have some holes elsewhere, but the most pressing need is quarterback. So that's why I'm like, oh, okay, if we can get this in the mix where if 3 becomes the move spot, if I'm the Colts, you might have to move up to 3 to make sure you get AR-15 or CJ Stroud, because if CJ Stroud and AR-15 are there, depending on who you like more, that might be the spot to get up to for 3. If I'm the Raiders and CJ is there at 3, you have to seriously try to figure out what you need to do to get the 3. I'm not sitting here and just accepting Will Levis. No shade to Will Levis. I know we've had people in the chat that have been very pro Will Levis, and I'm not here to shade Will Levis. I just think CJ Stroud is better than Will Levis. So if that's the case and CJ falls to 3 or is still available at 3, I think you got to jump in there. That's just me. You know, I'll let y'all let me know in the chat what y'all think about that. But if Bryce Young does go 1 overall to the Panthers, that shakes things up. Because that means CJ is in play at 2, and Houston can either dance, DeMeco Ryans could dance the night away, assuming he got the number 1 QB on their board at number 2, or this pick now becomes a huge commodity to another team who loves them some CJ Stroud. Or they could just marinate and take a defensive player at 2 and then spin the block at 12. And now don't be surprised if they leverage that 12 to move back up if one of those QBs falls. So this 12 pick could be leveraged. They can hold firm, go get Will Anderson, right? And then let's play the scenario out. Let's say the Cardinals trade out. Lord knows they need all the picks they can get. They trade out. Somebody else slides up. They get CJ. Now, if you're the Texans, this is going to be a hard sell, but do you try to leverage whatever you can to try to get back up in the top 5? I don't know if they could get the 4 from 12. But it's a possibility 5, 6, depending on who's available. If the Texans really like Will Levis, they can spin the block and try to get ahead of the Raiders. Although you're hearing some things with the Raiders and your man's Witherspoon from Illinois. I've seen a few mocks that have had Devon Witherspoon to the Raiders at 7. So there could be a lot of things in play here. I think that the top 10 is going to be one of the more interesting top 10s in a very long time because everyone wants QBs. There's only 4 QBs as of right now that we would deem top 10 worthy or top 10 grades. But there's way more than 4 teams that would want these 4 QBs. So who's going to leverage the collateral to jump up into this mix? Who's going to do it? Boogie Down, tap it in. What's good, Boogie Down? You didn't miss too much. You know, Tanya's in the whip. She's got us on in the whip, so she's going to be listening. But yeah, man, we're jumping into this Bryce Young, the Panthers. According to Chris Mortensen, the OG blue check boy, he says Bryce Young is the pick. The Panthers all love Bryce Young. So what does that do now for CJ Stroud? Does he come tumbling down draft boards? If he's available at 2, do the Texans just take him? Do the Texans leverage this pick? Do the Texans go defense and then try to spin the block with their additional first-round pick at 12? Topsy-turvy top 10. As usual, y'all know I'll be all over it, trying to pay attention to it, but there's a lot to be navigating there. We have an update from yesterday. We talked about the Patriots and Mac Jones and whether or not the Patriots are actually shopping Mac Jones, and there has been an update. We'll tap into that. Update, Patriots QB Mac Jones' name indeed came up in, quote, trade discussions with a couple of teams, per blue check boy Albert Breer. Breer adds, quote, the issue now is that they wouldn't get great value for him. No shit, Sherlock. I mean, this is Mac Jones we're talking about. And again, this is why sometimes you don't really want to just believe everything. And Dove helps this stream a lot with just some of his aggregated tweets. But in regards to blue check boy Albert Breer, is this really news that his name came up in trade discussions? Sure. But the issue now is that they wouldn't get great value for him. Did we really need a report on that? Is that shocking news to anyone who follows the sport of football, the league of the NFL? That's not shocking to me at all. Why would any team trade for Mac Jones? Unless it's a borderline, 5th, 6th round pick. 4th at them. I think I asked during the week, would anyone even give up a 4th for Mac Jones? And the chat was quiet. And the chat was rocking that day. So clearly the silence was like, nope. They don't even have the energy to type out N-O. Like, nope, we're not even going to do that. Corey's in the whip as well. What's good, Corey? So this is where news isn't really news. But now, again, we're trying to figure out a way for Lamar to get to New England. I still don't know if I want him in New England, but at least it's an option. But I don't know if Bill Belichick could pull this one off. And we talked about his record. We showed his record early in the week, how without Brady, he has an under 500 record. So could be scary hours for your boy. Let's see. So I think there's something. Let me just line this up here to make sure I got the right information. There was another tweet. Okay. So if we're talking about the latest information, the biggest news we got today is in regards to talking about Bryce Young allegedly to the Panthers at number 1, which would shake up the top 10 in my opinion, because it's been a long consensus that CJ Stroud is going to be the first QB off the board. Now that could potentially be in danger, and that could be fun. To me, that makes for a fun first round. I love all the transactions, even though most of them don't work out. It's just the excitement of, oh, this team is trading up to this team and so on and so forth. But here we go. If we want to continue down this Patriot rabbit hole, source, the Patriots locker room is seemingly split between both of its QBs. Your man Zeppy and Mac Jones. Why would a locker room be split over who's better? Don't they know both QBs are mid? Like, that's like another thing. Like, they know better. Even though Asante Samuel is out here on the Elon app telling Lamar, you don't want to play for Bill Belichick, and while he may have a point there, why would a locker room be split about Mac Jones and your man's Zeppy? Why? And as Boogie Down puts it, Mac Jones, aka Whack Jones. I mean, we're at that point. We are at that point where, no one is really believing in Mac Jones. I mean, because why would you? What has he given you to believe in? Like, what has he done? I mean, I think we pulled these up the other day, but let's go ahead and spin the block. Like, if we're talking about what someone can do, in 2 seasons, he had an okay rookie season in terms of by the metrics you look for just from reading a box score, but we watched those games. They were 10-7, and that 10-7 was not because of Mac Jones. But last year, 6-8, 14 touchdowns, 11 picks, completion percentage at 65, which is, solid, but QB rating only at 85 and QBR at 36, which is really bad. So I don't know. I don't know why anyone would ever do that. I don't know why anyone in that locker room would be professing their I don't know about love, but professing their stance or their authoritative stance that, I'm riding with Mac Jones. Zeppi's not that much better. I guess we could do the Zeppi stats, but, let's see, what does Zeppi do? I mean, Zeppi's undefeated, low-key. 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. Higher QB rating. Also a horrible QBR. But again, only he only started 2 games. So there's not much there. But if we want to get into the Cam Newton stuff, y'all let me know. I can't play the clip because of copyright stuff, but Cam Newton in his list of backup QBs, I wasn't going to make it a main topic, but I'm here to discuss it if y'all are, because it's a very weird thing. In one sentence, he says, I'm, better than, there's not 32 starting quarterbacks better than him. And that's, I believe, is facts. But also he then goes to say, yeah, but I could be a backup. And then he lists about 12 starting jobs that, he could potentially start on. Like, it was teams where either the QBs were old or the QBs are in some kind of turmoil or they're young and potentially unproven. So, it was a very weird thing that Cam is doing there, kind of like a Jedi mind trick. He was also promoting the hell out of his QB camp. As you know, I think almost half the list were, camp goers, former camp goers. So, Cam ain't stupid. He's going to take that clout and get whatever he can out of it. Boogie Down, Cam never had an issue playing under Belichick. I don't think Belichick is as bad as people think. Yeah. I would go find Malcolm Brown. Oh, Malcolm Butler, excuse me, not Malcolm Brown. Or maybe Malcolm Brown too. But yeah, I don't know about that. I think if you're one of those team guys, like team over everything guys, Belichick will love you. But if you're a player that's very aware of your worth, I don't think you hold Belichick in high regard, because Belichick, the whole Patriot way is sacrifice your value, your worth, for the betterment of the team. That's the Patriot way in a nutshell. So if you have that type of mentality, yeah, you can rock with Bill Belichick, and Belichick will ride for you. Like certain players, like Randy Moss, loves Bill Belichick. He also didn't play there that long. So, and he was Randy Moss. Like he was the man when he was there. So, it goes against a lot of things. Like Darrelle Revis Island, that shit only lasted 1 year. Okay, so I know there's some contract stuff involved in that as well, but still, like if he was really about that type of time, there's a lot of players that love Bill Belichick, and Belichick has shown love for Lamar Jackson during this whole thing. There's been a lot of clips of him talking glowingly about Lamar Jackson. So I do think there is interest. I don't know if I'm Lamar, if I want to go there. 2, I don't know if the Patriots have the collateral to go get Lamar financially or draft wise. I don't know if I want those picks, So I think that there's a lot to go in there. I think there's a lot to go in there. Boogie Down, the Ravens might go after Cam if they get real desperate as a stopgap. I would not do that if I'm the Ravens. If that's the case, if they really need a stopgap, then just go draft a quarterback. Go get Hendon Hooker. They have the 22nd pick. Go get Hendon Hooker. Take him at 22. I wouldn't play that game. Because I think no matter what happens, if you really want the truth of truth, I think Lamar's going to play for the Ravens this year. You know, I'm not saying that because I know anything that y'all don't or whatever. I just think the way this has gone about, I think the Ravens are going to cave in one way or the other. Either they're going to go out their way to try to get Lamar some help, to try to entice Lamar to at least show up, or they figure this whole thing out and give him the bread that he covets. I don't really see a team willing to go to the lengths of having to negotiate a new contract, figure out the draft compensation, call the Ravens, figure that out, get Lamar to sign the offer sheet, all for the Ravens to just match it, and then all of that goes for naught. I think there was a point in time where that could have happened. I think too much has been done publicly, and I don't think we're going to get back to that point. I could be completely wrong, and I will say it if I'm wrong. Although I'm not putting this opinion out here with any conviction besides I think the window to really make this deal has passed. For another team to swoop in and actually get Lamar and for the Ravens to maybe like choose to walk away, I think that ship has passed because now you're not leaving the Ravens with enough time to really go get a new quarterback, whether as a free agent or now they don't have no collateral to move up to go get any of the top 10 QBs. So now they got to figure out if Hendon Hooker is too high at 22. So, you know, for me, I think that there's a lot there in the sense of for this deal to have to be completed, I think would have had to have happened already. Yes, teams are more than likely going to spin the block on the whole Lamar thing after the draft. But at that point, we're talking what? Pretty much May? I mean, OTAs start real soon, bro. Like, new offense, new system, new coaches on that offensive side for the Ravens. I don't know if I'm playing that game. The Ravens going to be under a lot of pressure at 22 with Hendon Hooker. What they do at 22 will give you a signal because did we look up their second round pick? Yeah, they don't have one, right? Yeah, they don't have a second round pick. So, you know, in theory, let's go big board. The full order, excuse me. Let's go. Do we have a third? They have a third. So after that 22nd pick, they don't pick again until 86. I guess they can trade up, they can do whatever, but whatever they do at 22, if everything stands pat, and we know that stuff Harley does, but just in the sense of the conversation, if they don't go QB at 22, they're not picking again until 60 picks later. 60 other players are off the board. So, yeah, that will let us know what type of time they're on. If they don't take Hendon Hooker at 22, man, it's a long wait to 86, Jack. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. So I don't see anything happening. I think ultimately Lamar plays as a Raven this year. It's just whether or not he's going to get the deal that he's looking for. Or if they go with Hendon Hooker at 22, then Lamar could chill until week 10, pull up, collect the 32.4, and then we could revisit all of this again next year. That's just, you know, for me, that's kind of where my head is at, trying to navigate all of this stuff over the last month and change. Boogie down. Belichick will love Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the most team guy there is. Yeah, there's definitely something to that. I mean, Belichick has been very vocal about his support for Lamar and how he admires his skill set and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I do agree with you on that one. Corey's pulling up. Patriot way is I have Tom Brady and you don't. Yeah. And we have Tom Brady for the low, by the way. We get Tom Brady to restructure his contract every year to give us cap relief. So not only do we have Tom Brady, but we have Tom Brady for the cheap because we got him to buy into the Patriot way of, Super Bowls over money. I mean, it kind of helps when you are then married to a supermodel. Kind of helps to not worry about money at that point. Corey tapping in about Moss. Moss complained about his contract and got traded. Yeah, story of Moss's career, actually. But yeah, it did definitely surfaced in New England as well. Boogie down. Ravens aren't matching it. Lamar Jackson and Ravens are both done with each other. I don't understand why people still think they could get a deal done. Well, here's the thing, Boogie down. I'm not even look. My whole thing is this, right? If they can't get a deal done, then what's holding the trade up? You don't have to wait until after this draft to trade 2024 picks. Unless I'm mistaken, there's nothing in the league rule book that says you can't trade a 2024 pick or a 2025 pick. So if the two sides are so done with each other and the Ravens are ready to move on and they're willing to give him up, then why do these teams need to wait until after the draft to discuss draft compensation? Just say 2023 picks are off the board. Okay, then let's talk 2024 picks. Of course, we could go to the whole thing of, well, teams want to see what happens in this draft and so on and so forth. But okay, but if the teams are so done, then what are we really waiting for? Boogie down. You think Lamar Jackson steps out in the field again for 30 in a row with no contract and risk injury? Teams will not want Lamar Jackson if he gets injured again. That doesn't make sense for LG to play on the tag. Well, look, he not going to take no money. If the money is there and it's 32.4 M's and he has until week 10 to claim it. If his conviction's that strong, I will certainly be riding here for him. I will be right here riding for him if his conviction is that strong. I definitely think he's not going to show up for a very long time, but to sit out until week 10, that takes a different level of strictness and discipline for a guy that is team first like Lamar. So if he gets that off, then great. I'm here for it. I will champion him. I am definitely not anti him in this case at all. I just think at some point, clearly a line has been drawn in the sand, right? But now it's just a matter of, well, okay, if we're just going to do this, then let's just go ahead and make a move. I'd rather than just go ahead and make a move. And there's a tweet here. I'll pull this tweet up. I was debating whether to pull this up because I'm not sure about the sourcing on it. But let's talk about this tweet here, which is a screenshot of an article, right? So it's discussing the whole thing with the Ravens and a whole lot of other stuff, right? Things got ugly last week for sure with Jackson tweeting his trade request just as John Harbaugh was sitting down for his media session. I believe Harbaugh took his seat at 7:45 a.m. local time with Jackson's tweet thread timestamped at 7:48 a.m. But I don't think the team took any of it personally, and I think it sees then this is covered, while it's not on the table right now. Now, this is in regards to the deal. While it's not on the table right now, last year the Ravens made a multi-year offer that had $133 million fully guaranteed at signing, $175 million injury guarantee that would vest as a full guarantee early in the deal, and another $25 million due in the fourth year that will become fully guaranteed in the third year. So, the wording is that particular deal, which if we add all this up, is $200 million guaranteed. But again, it's $200 spread out over a very long time. So if we're to believe this deal, let's do the math. 133 fully guaranteed at signing. That's not akin to the Josh Allen 150. That's not akin to the Patrick Mahomes 141, and so on and so forth. What that would be is 133 in terms of just the value right there, fully guaranteed. Now, the 175 million is the actual guarantee. No matter what happens in that contract, Lamar would walk away with 175 million. Now, they would say that would vest as a full guarantee early in the deal. So while he only gets 133 at signing, he would get an extra, what's the math on that? 42, an extra 42 million that would vest as a full guarantee early in the deal. So let's assume it's the 3-year 133 that Lamar was tweeting about, right? 3 years, 133. So we're assuming early in the deal, it would have to be year 2, or maybe it's just year 4 because it's talking about a 4th year. Lamar said 3 years, 133. So who knows if this is real or not? And that's why sometimes, you really try to navigate what stuff is, but maybe it was a team option on that 4th deal. I don't know. But Lamar said 3 years, 133. This deal is referencing a 4th year. But if that 175 is guaranteed early in the deal, let's assume it's after the 2nd year. By the 2nd year, it's 175. Then he would get another 25 million due in the 4th year that would become fully guaranteed in the 3rd year. So this is a 4-year contract. And he wouldn't get the full 200 until the 3rd year. So he would get the 25 million at the end. It would vest in the 3rd year. So no matter what happens in that 3rd year, he would still get that 25 million in the 4th year. So now that's a 4-year deal for 200 million guaranteed. That's 50 mil a year just off guarantees. Now you add in the incentives and all that type of stuff. You throw in the funny money. Who knows what the final number would have been? But remember, Josh Allen was 268, I believe, or somewhere in that ballpark. 6 years, 260 something. Who knows how many years they would have added on the back end to make this deal appear to be whatever, but that's one option. Then they just go on to discuss they've also been open to a shorter term, fully guaranteed deal a la Kirk Cousins' first Vikings deal, obviously with bigger numbers. I also think, contrary to popular belief, Jackson has been open to different ideas. Now, again, the sourcing on this is a little weird. That's kind of why I was a little hesitant about using this. But it's a screenshot from Sports Illustrated about Lamar. So this whole article is from Sports Illustrated. So while it's not on the table right now, so that whatever year deal that has the 133 fully guaranteed number, according to this article from Sports Illustrated, that's off the table right now. And if they've discussed a shorter term, fully guaranteed money a la Kirk Cousins, why wouldn't Lamar take that? I'm just asking a question. Okay, Boogie Down, I see what you're saying, but just forget the whole part of injury. It's just wording. The 175 million is just no matter what happens, like an injury, no matter what happens, he gets 175 million. So if he's trying to do the deal, right? Okay, so let me set this up, because we went through this the other day with Mahomes and them. And let's see. Sports Track. Where's that website? There we go. And we want Mahomes first. We'll start with Mahomes first. Patrick Mahomes. There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is one of the slower loading websites, man. I swear to you. Okay, here we go. So this is what these are the numbers we need to focus on, right? Total guarantee. Yes, the term on that article was injury, but it's the same language. Total guarantee. So that 133, that would be the guarantee that's signing, right? So Mahomes got 63. Allegedly, Lamar was offered 133. And then the total guarantees, and this includes the injury guarantee, is 141 and whatever else, right? So that's the difference. So the 175 will be the total guarantee no matter what, including injury, right? Like the guarantee, the signing bonus is akin to, if Mahomes would have, tore both ACLs, PCLs, MCLs and couldn't play again right after signing this, they would only be on the hook for the 63. But because he played and that time got vested, he then got the total guarantee, no matter what, injury or not, to 141. So it'll be the same with Lamar. Lamar signs that contract and falls down or gets, in a car accident, whatever, God forbid, it's 133 no matter what. But then, if I'm assuming he plays a year or so and it vests, then the total goes from 133 to 175. Now, if we want to compare that to Deshaun, so he wants this, right? Guarantee that signing 230, total 230. That sounds great. That sounds amazing. If he can get that off, that's amazing, right? If he could just get 230, no matter what years you got to break it down, no matter what, restructuring you got to do, no matter what you got to do, bro, just when it hits that account, it's 230 of them things. I got you, right? Let's see how they did Kirk Cousins' deal. Oh, what do you know? 35 at signing, 35 total guaranteed. Well, here's the thing, Boogie Down. All the people that have allegedly been willing to talk from Lamar's camp have said Lamar doesn't even want fully guaranteed money like Deshaun Watson. So, because if you want this, where what you get is what you get, then you got to say that. But you can't have allegedly all your mans in them running around and saying, well, he doesn't even want fully guaranteed if you want fully guaranteed. If you want to beat Deshaun's number, I think the best way to go about that is trying to get the same type of contract. But if the Ravens are not going to give him that contract, and it appears to be hard for other teams to give him that contract, then would he settle for a contract that is more along the lines of a Mahomes where, and just going off the framework of that first deal, where this is 133 at signing. And then as time goes along, let's say a year or so, or if a year two, now that gets bumped to 175. So as the second year starts, you got 175 coming, no matter what. Then as you get to the fourth year, as you're in the third year, you get that extra 25. That's guaranteed. No incentives, no whatever, just straight guarantee. Now you got 200. Again, I'm not saying Lamar should have signed that. So let's be clear. I'm just explaining the difference. I understand that he should want what Deshaun got, where it's all straight cash, homie. We talked about Randy Moss earlier. It's all straight cash, homie, up front. I'm here for it. He should get that. Will he get it? I don't know. So if LJ signed that deal and he gets injured in the first game of 2023 and missed the season, does he still get 175? No, because you said need the vest. Yeah, so no, he would not. He would just get the 133. He would get the 133 at signing. That therein lies the difference. Instead of, if it's fully, I'll give you a spotlight today. Instead of it being guaranteed up front, this number would just be 133. And then let's say a year or so into the deal, then it moves over here to 230. No, not 230, but to 175, right? That's where it goes. And that's why the structuring of the deal that's going to be the real tough part. And this is not just for the Ravens. This is for any team. And this is why my thinking is you have to hold firm and follow suit, because Kirk Cousins was able to walk out here and get fully guaranteed money, and he has been for years. And even when they extend him, it's fully guaranteed money. He's never going back. He's never going back. All this money is guaranteed. When he signed that deal, it was $26 million fully guaranteed, $28 million fully guaranteed. And in the last year of that deal, $40 guaranteed. Then they extended him and he got 21 guaranteed and then 40 guaranteed last year. Straight cash, homie. 5 seasons with the Vikings. $155 million guaranteed. No funny money. So Kirk Cousins has been pulling about 35 if you want to average it out. They're about $31 million a year for Kirk Cousins, guaranteed. Boogie down. Yeah, so I see why Lamar Jackson doesn't want that deal, especially considering how much wear and tear they put on his body, making him average 800 rushing yards per season. Yeah, that's kind of his point. Like, and here's the thing, like the Ravens are using that against him too, right? Like other teams are using that against him. We've seen Arthur Blank openly saying his running style is problematic, even though we pulled up the injury stats and shown that he is no more injured than most top tier running quarterbacks in the league that have all been paid except for him. Except, and I think Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields won that list, but everyone else on that list got paid. So, you know, it's kind of weird, but yes, if you want the Watson contract, then you're going to have to stand firm and say, I want it all up front. And there's ways to do it, and that's what these teams are trying to ignore, because the Vikings sure as hell found a way to do it. You see it here. Base salary, signing bonus, roster bonus, no matter however it hits, it's fully guaranteed. It don't matter how Kirk gets it. At the end of the day, that money is all coming to him. So that's kind of why at times these organizations are trying to make you think is one way when it's really another. They're like, oh, well, we have to structure it. Like, you have people in your front offices whose whole job is to do that. You have capologists. You have an accounting department. It's not hard. It's not difficult. The contract is the contract. If you look at the Deshaun Watson one, 46 mil base pay. Signing bonus is the same every year. Everything is the same. The only thing that's different is the cap hit. The cap hit is crazy later on the back half of this contract. And then if you look at the dead cap, it's nasty work. But the bottom line is that the money is easy and they're already having discussions about restructuring it. So the narrative of, oh, if you give him this money, you can't really, move. You can't move the money around. You can't sign other players. That's a lie. That's a lie, because you could get a restructuring. Because guess what happens now? Let's say they restructure this contract for Deshaun Watson. It's still going to be 230. No matter what happens, this contract is 230. But if they restructure it, it might end up being more than 230. He might get the deferred payments on the back half and end up like Bobby Bonilla every year, getting a check in July for the next 20, 30 years after your career. Or Ken Griffey. Ken Griffey is, I think he's the 4th highest paid Cincinnati Red this year. This man is 50-something years old. So however you want to slice it, the money guaranteed, the money coming. That's all Lamar and Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins care about. As long as that money coming, it don't matter. The money coming? Yes? Cool. No matter what happened, that money coming. Great. Great. Let's see. Who is Kirk Cousins does have an agent. Oh, I was hoping he didn't have an agent. Brandon Heat was good, man. Good to see you in the comments. The garbage training staff does not help. Yeah, does not help. Does not help when the people in charge of rehabbing you get an F- from its own employees. Does not help. So that's kind of where we're at with it, where this article in Sports Illustrated that says that this deal is no longer on the table, the $133 million fully guaranteed deal, which would only be at signing, and then $175 million, take away the injury thing, but I know for verbiage they have to put that there, but $175 injury guarantee that would vest as a full guarantee early in the deal. We would assume after a year or two. And then another $25 million in the fourth year that would become fully guaranteed in the third year. So basically, if he were to just get through 3 seasons or start the third year, he would have $200 guaranteed. But again, it's rationed out. It's not guaranteed up front like Deshaun Watson, like Kirk Cousins. And then there's the reference to a shorter deal, just like Kirk Cousins, but with bigger numbers. So if Kirk Cousins got, where's that tab at? Where we go? Where did it go? Here we go. So he got 3 years. We could do the math. So 26 and 28, that is 54. So 84 and change. So he got 3 years, 84 million, right? 3 years, 84 million. If you were to give Lamar Jackson a 3-year fully guaranteed deal, is that why Lamar keeps saying 3 years, 133? Is that what they try to do? Was that the Kirk Cousins like offer that he turned down? Is that where that 133 number came from? Because the reference in here in 133 is speaking to at least a 4-year deal, right? 4th year. So is the 3-year 133 that Lamar referenced on Twitter, is that the Kirk Cousins deal that allegedly the Ravens tried to offer him? 3 years, 133. Let me see, what did Aaron Rodgers got? 3 years, 160 or 150? Let's see. He got 3 years, 150. So he got $50 million a year. If Lamar is getting 3 years, 133 fully guaranteed, that's 45-ish. No, that's not. That's too much. 30-something, 33, over 30, right? Be in the 40s, right? They can be in the 40s. So that's why, again, Lamar's not speaking. The Ravens have their own people. So it's really difficult to try to navigate who's telling the truth, what were the real contract numbers that were offered, who actually turned down what. It's hard to navigate because we just don't know. And it's not because we're not getting it from Lamar. We don't usually get contract numbers from quarterbacks. And I know you could give me he doesn't have an agent. Like, even so, even when QBs have agents, the agents don't tell that number publicly. So we never or rarely get QB numbers or QB specific contract numbers in negotiations from quarterbacks and or their agents. It's usually the teams that leak the numbers that players or their agents are seeking. But the interesting part with Lamar is that if you have offered him different structured contracts, we only know for sure, without a doubt, about this mystical, magical 133 number. Whether it's in this 4-year deal or the 3-year 133 deal that Lamar mentioned on the Elon app, aka Twitter. So which deal is which? Which deal is real? Which deal is fugazi? I don't know. I have no idea. But that's where we're at with that. I didn't think we would get to Lamar. I was debating whether to pull up that article because, you know, haven't really had a chance to vet too much of the information. But what the hell? Timeline T, right? So, your man's Tyreek Hill. Allegedly, he's going to retire. He's going to retire after his contract is up with the Dolphins. So he went on, I believe this is Kansas City radio, and they asked him about, you know, what would happen the next, because they are going to play each other next year. The Dolphins and the Chiefs are going to play each other. And Tyreek said, I would hate to throw up the peace sign against y'all. Well, you know who had time today? Chris Jones. That peace sign he throwing up is walking to the bus after the game. Chris Jones always has time. Do we believe Tyreek Hill? And if you need the schematics of everything, Tyreek Hill says he's retiring from the NFL at age 31 after the 2025 season. Hill, I'm going to finish out this contract with the Dolphins, and then I'm going to call it quits. I want to go into the business side. I want to do so many things in my life, bro. So Tyreek Hill walking away at 31. Are you surprised that this is a man who just ran a track meet against, you know, garbage men and plumbers a few weeks ago and smoked them? Maybe he wants to do more of that. Apparently he's big into gaming, so he wants to, you know, spin the block on that. And I know gaming was the trend pre-pandemic or maybe early in the pandemic. Has anybody really cashed out big time on the gaming side? Of all these athletes who have tried to get into the gaming space, have any of them really cashed out? Because I feel like a lot of athletes feel like, oh, I'll get into gaming. I don't really hear too much about those things actually being successful. Because a lot of people that try to get into gaming, I mean, you go on YouTube, there's tons of gaming channels here on YouTube, but I just don't know if that's the business model I would be giving up my career for. But 31 and you got a shit ton of M's, you can do whatever you want. And plus, like, even though he looked like he not hurt, that body goes through a lot. And at 31, if you could retain that speed, that world-class speed, and have M's and still, you know, not have CTE. I mean, your quarterback was concussed minimum 4 times that we know of last year. Maybe being next to that, you're like, yo, man, I'm not going to do this too much longer. I ain't had too many concussions, assuming. I haven't had too many concussions. My body is in relatively solid shape. I still got my speed. I'm getting up out of here. I don't want no parts of it. How many of y'all believe Tyreek Hill is actually going to retire? Let me know in the chat live or on the replay in the comments if you think Tyreek Hill is actually going to retire. I'm leaning towards he is, just because he's got the M's. You see him got the podcast, so that's what all these athletes are doing. You know, Paul George has a podcast P. I mean, hashtag new media, right? I don't know. I don't know, man. Boogie down. Back on Lamar. I think Lamar Jackson wants at least 4 or 5 year deal. Ravens plan on continuing running him into the ground and cutting bait with him, which is why they only offered a 3-year deal. Yeah, maybe. It's a possibility. I think it's a real strong possibility. He seen what happened. Tyreek Hill. He seen what happened to Tua. Word. That's what I'm saying. Like if I'm of sound mind and body, I got those M's off that extension. How much he got? Let's see. Four years, 120. Oof. Wow. A lot of funny money in this one. 4 years. My bad. 4 years, 120. Hiccups are the worst. 72 mil guaranteed. That is hilarious. After all these contracts of like real guaranteed money and Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins, it's wild to come back to a OG contract. You see 4 years, 120. And then it's only 52 at signing. And then I guess once the injury vesting kicks in, it's 72 million. So that's 48 million in funny money. But again, 72 is really strong for a 30-year-old receiver. And you see, he was mid. What round was he drafted? Oh, he's a 5th round pick. Oh yeah, he got to cash out. Yeah, I would walk away too. 5th round pick. And if he sticks out this deal, if he walks away at the end, he could cash out with 180 M's as a 5th round pick. Yeah, I don't blame him. I'll walk away too. As a 5th round pick, I turn it into 180 M's. Yeah, cash me out. I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was not aware he was a 5th round pick. That's crazy. All right, let's see. Matt Miller had this to say, and I enjoy Matt Miller's content. Worked with him a few times back in the day when he was at Bleacher Report, and I was at SiriusXM. Does really good content, student of the game, really studies tape, really breaks things down. He's getting frustrated, and I can't lie, I was this level of frustrated like 2 weeks ago. But now he's here, and Matt Miller is saying, we're 3 weeks away from the Jets going into the first round of the NFL draft without an answer at quarterback or left tackle. Something's got to give on this Aaron Rodgers trade. And why are we that frustrated? Well, because there was report of a signing of the Jets. The Jets signed a QB today. The Jets signed a QB that has ties to Nathaniel Hackett today. The Jets signed a quarterback that has ties to Nathaniel Hackett that is a former Green Bay Packer today. But it's not Aaron Rodgers. Tim Boyle, 1-year deal. He reunites with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, who was his OC with the Packers, and his editorial comment. And that means someday between now and the end of time, he'll reunite with this guy too. And it's a picture of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, maybe. I mean, whose deal gets done first, Lamar or Aaron Rodgers? Whose deal get done first? Boogie Down in the comments, strong today. I appreciate you, Boogie Down. Tyreek Hill might never lose his speed like Ted Ginn or Deshaun Jackson. Those guys were still the best on the field well into their 30s. Word. I mean, just the fact that you a 5th round pick and you 31 years old and you 180 M's up. Oh yeah, I'm out. If I could keep going to track meets and dusting plumbers, oh yeah, I'm outside. He probably gonna do a production company because that's what all the athletes are doing. They're doing production companies so he can tell his narrative. So he'll do the production company. Apparently he's big into gaming, so he'll probably do a gaming channel or gaming content. And then he'll keep showing up to track meets dusting plumbers and racking up dubs in track. It's a cool life for a 5th round pick. 180 M's, 5th round pick. I'm still track fast at 30, 31. I'm still track fast because there's fast and then there's track fast. Tyreek Hill is track fast. So, you know, it's crazy. I would leave too. 180 M's? 5th round pick? Fifth round pick gets 180 M's? Yes. Yes. Cash me out. Cash me out. Want no parts. Y'all can keep all of that. Keep all of that. Bring the heat. Not gonna lie, Jets fans are getting heated with Pack fans everywhere I look. Well, I mean, and that's why fandom is a mental illness. That's why, to me, fandom is a mental illness, yo, because why? If you're a Jets fan, you're frustrated, right? You're anxious, you're nervous, you're frustrated because you're thinking in the back of your mind, and as you know, someone that's grown up here in New York and in the tri-state area, like, you're waiting for the other shoe to fall because it's the Jets. You go out there with Vinny Testaverde and it looks crazy, and then he tears his ACL week 1. You go out there and you trade for Brett Favre, and then he's out here showing, you know, pics of his to female reporters. The best Jet quarterback of my lifetime is either Vinny Testaverde that 1 year or Chad Pennington. Think on that. Of my lifetime, if I were a Jet fan, thankfully I was not when I was subscribing to fandom, it was Chad Pennington. If you're a real OG, Ken O'Brien. Most likely Vinny Testaverde. Don't even say Mark Sanchez, because we know that was the defense that carried them to them back-to-back AFC championship games. So yeah, Jets fans are nervous, they're anxious, they're frustrated because they just want this to hurry up and be a thing. So that they can celebrate and also breathe a sigh of relief. Boogie down in the comments, he's talking to bring the heat. Something tells me that the A-Rod deal does not get done and Jets go after Lamar Jackson. Boogie down just wants Lamar Jackson out of Baltimore. And I'm not mad at him for that. He just wants Lamar gone from Baltimore. He is over it. He is over it. I don't know where Lamar's going to go. It's a lot. It's too much to keep up with. But I'll be here to transcribe it all as much as I can with y'all. You know, I don't mind doing all this for y'all. It's a lot to navigate. It's a lot to keep up with. Who's telling real stories? Who's an actual source? You know, all of that. But let's see. So we're off to Tyreek Hill. Let's go to the NBA playoffs. There's a lot going on, man. Although, first of all, there is some... No, we'll wait. NBA playoffs. We'll start there. There's some Ja Morant stuff that has come down. No new stuff, just more reporting on the old stuff. So you're not missing anything. But the NBA playoffs, and more specifically, who doesn't want to face who? Lakers lose to the Clippers last night. The Clippers jumped to the 5 seed, where they would potentially face the Phoenix Suns, who have locked in the 4 seed. Now, that doesn't mean the Clippers are going to stay here. They can fall backwards. The Pels can catch all 3 of these teams. So the Pels could be in the mix here. And there were rumors of Zion trying to pull a Willis Reed, rest in peace, and try to come off the deck and try to help his team out the last couple of games, but he is doubtful for tonight. So the Lake Show fall to 7. That would put them in the play-in, and they would either get Memphis or Denver. They would for sure be favored against Memphis. I think there would be some real interesting lines and spreads if they were able to get Denver. But I think they would be favored over both Memphis and Denver if they stay in that 7, if they stay in the play-in, essentially. If they were getting to 6, which is where I think they're trying to get to. I think they want no parts of the 5. Because the 5 means you have to face Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and the point fraud, right? But that mystical, magical 3 spot, that's the spot a lot of teams are aiming for. And I think the Warriors and the Lakers are fighting to be 6 because they want to smoke with the Kings. They don't want that smoke with the Phoenix Suns. So that's going to be something we have to be wary of, because if we're looking at the schedule, they play Phoenix tomorrow night at home. Phoenix has nothing to gain in this game. Does Phoenix tank this game to help the Lakers avoid facing Phoenix in the first round? Then they have Utah. They're not officially eliminated yet, I believe, but yeah. This game here Friday is the one that, I mean, obviously they would have liked to have won against the Clippers last night, but then they would have woken up as the 5 seed and then be terrified, because then that means they have Phoenix. Because if you figure the bracket, whoever is the 4-5, you're going up against the number 1 seed in the second round. So if you're the Clippers and you could find a way to get past the Suns, your reward for getting past the Suns is then the Nuggets. Whereas if you're in that 7-8 range, or excuse me, the 6-7 range, you could, in theory, let's say if you're the 7, right? Let's say this holds firm. Lakers would get the Grizzlies. Lakers can beat the Grizzlies, and the reward for beating the Grizzlies is the winner of Sacramento Golden State, which, with the home court advantage with Sacramento, the law of averages, strange enough, say Sacramento should win that series because the Warriors are putrid on the road and the Kings are great at home. So the Lake Show could potentially get to the conference finals only going through Memphis and Sacramento. And that's why this 6-7 lane is extremely important. You don't want the 5. You get the 5, you got to go through Phoenix and or Denver. If you get the 6-7, you got to go through potentially Memphis and Sacramento, which is a much easier path. Let's keep it a buck, right? Much easier path. Now, in the East, let me jump to the comments real quick. Bring the Heat. Are we talking basketball? Bring the Heat at cool. Miami Heat offense is a bit of a dumpster fire, but they got some lockdown dogs on defense. Yes, if you're talking about Jimmy and Idris, a.k.a. Bam, yes. And I think you would put a scare into Boston if things hold firm. I know. Who do you want? Do you want Philly or Boston in the first round? Who are you more confident against? What they just beat? They beat Boston not that long ago, right? Miami? Idris can't defend Embiid. At least not this version of Embiid. He plays him well. He just can't. He's just physically not. Yeah, nah. But here's the move in the East. So the East is stay away from the 5 seed, because then that means you have to play the 4 seed. In the East, is there such a scenario? Is it this 5 seed? Because if you're a Knicks fan, you're assuming, all right, we got Cleveland. That's a relatively fair matchup. I would not say so, but you can talk yourself into believing that. And then your reward, if you're able to get past the Cavs, is hello, Giannis the Nigerian freak Antetokounmpo. So then if you're in this 6-7, if you're Miami and you're able to get past Boston as it stands right now, you're able to get past Boston, your reward for getting past Boston is then Philly. And that's why I think the East is going to be so top heavy. I don't really see a team from 5 on down that won't have home court advancing to the second round. I just don't see it. Because I think while Miami has a chance against Boston for sure, that series should go 6 games minimum. If Miami plays up to their ability. You know, if Kyle Lowry regresses, if Tyler Hero forgets what his role is supposed to be, if Duncan Robinson forgets how to hit a bucket, you know, it could be all she wrote. Because, you know, Jimmy's going to be Jimmy, and I think Bam will be that guy as well. I'm just not sure about the supporting cast, which is kind of always the case with Miami, unfortunately. I mean, they may have to dust off Oladipo again. I mean, who knows? Who knows? So while it's stay the hell away from the 5 in the East, I don't really think you have such in the West, excuse me. Stay away from the 5 in the West. I don't think you have such a issue in the East. I think the top 4 teams in the East are so top heavy that only Miami has a chance to even make it out the first round, to be quite honest with you. I don't see it. The play-in is kind of a foregone conclusion. Like Toronto or Chicago doesn't really matter. Like I think, you know, Miami would take care of business against any of these 3 teams in the play-in. You know, they'll hold firm at the 7. And then that means a date with Boston. But if they can sneak in there to 6, I'm under the impression Philly is more beatable than Boston, but for some reason Miami plays against Boston better. Bring the heat. Yeah, I'd rather take Boston. Yeah, I agree. Philly has had a habit of choking in the playoffs. Oh, you don't gotta tell me that. I've been loving. I have a lot of Philly fans who listen to my my podcast, the DCMD podcast, and every year when they choke, I just do a hi Philly and just laugh at them uproariously. So yeah, Philly has a habit, and when you have that coach and you have the Beard, both known for choking away big leads. Yeah. Embiid, his health, his stamina, is this finally the year Embiid gets over his playoff bugaboos. It's not necessarily not performing in the playoffs, but it's you clearly see the wear and tear of the season catching up with him in the playoffs. Will this be the year, potentially an MVP year? Will this finally be the year in the postseason that Embiid doesn't look tired? All right, let's see. What else we got? I wanted to touch on, let's see. Andrew Wiggins. He's getting up shots. He's close to returning. Andrew Wiggins, how does that impact the Western Conference? If the Golden State Warriors get to that 5 with Wiggins, do you like their chances against Phoenix? Because you're going to have Draymond on KD, Clay on D-Book. You could put Wiggins on, well, and Steph's going to want the point fraud. But here's how important Wiggins is, right? Because in theory, let's see. In theory, they could go. When did they last play the Suns? Let me look that up. Oh, we are going to get weird right now. Let's see the last time. Have they played Phoenix? Didn't they play Phoenix with? Okay. Did KD play? Yes, they. I don't know if KD played. KD did not play. Okay. All right, but let's take out Craig, right? Check out Craig, or maybe keep Craig. Maybe you take out Okogie. Maybe you take out Okogie and put KD here. But let's assume this is the 5. Let me see. What was their 5 the other night? Okay, Okogie. So you take out Torrey Craig. All right, so if this is the 5 against Golden State, you're putting Looney on Ayton. You're putting Wardell on the point fraud. You're putting Klay Thompson on D-Book. You probably athletically want to go A. Wiggins on KD. And then you have the habitual nut hitter, Draymond Green, on Okogie. But the key here is Draymond can hover. The habitual nut hitter can hover to try to free up, try to trap, double KD or Book. And if he's killing Looney in the paint, even Ayton. So this is why, the Warriors thing is key, because you kind of need 4 guys who can all score without help. The problem is the Suns only have 2.5 because the point fraud old as hell. And Ayton cannot score by himself. We know Durant and Book can score on their own. They don't need no help. Point fraud is too old now. He needs help. That's why I said 2.5. So to really exploit and stretch the Warriors, you need 4 guys who can go get their own shot. And I don't know if the Suns have that if the Warriors are at their full capacity with A. Wiggins. That's something we're going to have to pay attention to, because I truly believe, if the Warriors are at their full complement, I talked about the Clippers being tailor-made to at least make it difficult. But after watching the Clippers, even with Russie playing as well as he has over the last couple of weeks, I don't like that roster, dog. I do not like that roster. And you don't know when PG coming back. PG too busy podcast peeing. And you don't know when he coming back. So that'll be that. But that's a look at the NBA playoffs. Let's do Ja Morant real quick before we get up out of here. Ja Morant's altercations, police interactions detailed in Washington Post report. Okay. So here is the nuts and bolts of it. We'll zoom in so we can all read together. Additional details came to light regarding previously reported off-court incidents involving Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant in an investigative story from the Washington Post on Thursday. The report also centers on the response, or lack thereof, from Memphis authorities and Grizzlies officials. This is a quote from the story. Word of Morant's behavior spread quickly through parts of sports media. Some journalists would later say publicly, and behind-the-scenes records and interviews show the Grizzlies worked with police. The Grizzlies worked with police. But months passed with no public discipline or media coverage of the allegations against Morant. Why did that happen? Because the Grizzlies worked with police. Neither the Grizzlies nor the NBA, which said it requires teams to report incidents involving police, reached out to the alleged victims in incidents involving Morant. 3 of them told the Post. 3. So while everyone is talking about, the strip club and 50K tips and all that stuff, waving, the gun on IG, the blinky or the blicky, depending on what generation you're from, there were many other incidents prior to that were problematic that should have been rectified, but the Grizzlies worked with police. Oof. Okay, so here's some more information in regards to the Finish Line employee. We have a name for the Finish Line employee. Last July, Morant was among a group that came to a Finish Line store to confront an employee, here's his name, who had upset Morant's mother. The veteran point guard, is he a veteran at this point? Maybe. The veteran point guard explained he arrived to make sure his mother was safe and left when he felt reassured she was fine. That is a hell of a cleanup, Ja. However, Busby told the Washington Post he felt threatened because Morant entered an area of the store only for employees and asked where he was. Busby, the shoe salesman, said he spent nearly an hour in the storeroom, at times shaking with emotion, as Morant, who arrived at the sneaker store with 8 or 9 others, shouted through the door, threatening that he would wait for him to come out. Okay, now this small part here is contradictory to earlier reports. This alleged confrontation was said to have happened in the mall parking lot. Now we're being told that this happened inside Finish Line. Who do you believe? Although Busby filed a report with police, officers never followed up with him. And why is that? Because the Grizzlies work with police. Okay. The reporters noted that Shelby County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee was similarly deliberate after officers first responded to a home where 17-year-old, and then there's the kid's name, said he was punched during a pickup game involving Morant last July. According to the report, officers spoke with the 17-year-old at the scene, but waited 6 weeks before formally interviewing Morant. And, quote, even then they avoided asking Morant key questions, end quote. The case was dropped by prosecutors who pointed to the lack of evidence. The 17-year-old told the reporters he angered Morant when he threw the ball toward the Grizzlies player and it hit him in the face. Morant allegedly punched him in the face, and one of Morant's friends allegedly struck him in the back of the head as well. Now, this is very different from the reporting of a month ago, where it was said that they jumped this kid. It was not just a punch in the face and one of Morant's friends allegedly struck him in the back of the head. It was Ja essentially gave him a 2-piece, and then his mans jumped in, and then all of a sudden this kid just got jumped. Now they're singling it down to just a punch in the face, and he got struck in the back of the head. A deputy for the sheriff's office made note of a knot on the 17-year-old's head at the scene. Let's see. One of Morant's attorneys disputed the allegation to the Washington Post. Make sure y'all can see that. One of Morant's attorneys disputed the allegation to the Post and said none of the eyewitness accounts, quote, supports the 17-year-old's version of what transpired that night. I mean, allegedly when the check clears, the check clears, know what I mean? But it is what it is. Let's see. Yeah, and they don't even talk about the third incident, which was him running down on his sister's high school because some dude called her a bitch. So we're not even getting into that apparently. But there you go. More Ja Morant stuff. It's just becoming really problematic with Ja. But if you're pulling up new, if you could drop a like, I would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you're digging this content, trying to give sports a different view and a different look, please subscribe. What we've been talking about is the Panthers. The Panthers, Bryce Young, allegedly, according to OG Blue Check Boy Chris Mortensen, is going to be the first overall pick. The Panthers, they all love Bryce Young. So to recap, we've been breaking down, well, what does this mean for the top of the draft? If Bryce Young is now number 1 and CJ Stroud is available at 2, what do you do if you're the Houston Texans? That's something we've spoken about. Does this make the second pick in play? Does this make the third pick in play? What do you do if you're the Colts at 4? So on and so forth. Good stream today. But I think that will wrap it up for me. If y'all want to do a little Q&A, I will check the timeline. If y'all want to do a little Q&A, I like ending off the stream with y'all just asking me questions and whatnot. The Jets have signed someone. No, it's not who you think. Quentin Jefferson, Seahawks defensive lineman. Still no Aaron Rodgers. I am combing down the timeline. I am not seeing a lot there. I didn't touch on the Cam Newton stuff because I don't really think there's that much to it. Like, that's kind of how much stuff has slowed down to where the Cam Newton story, which isn't really saying a lot, kind of took a life of its own. Boogie Down still in here, and he's still riding on Bryce. Bryce Young is a bust. All right, we'll see. We'll see. Bring the heat. What do people have against C.J. Stroud? That's a great question. I think some people question if you're looking at CJ, you wonder if he's a product of having all that talent. That's how I would look at it. Is he a product of all that talent? You know, I won't play these highlights, but let's see. Do they have? No, they don't have anything. No comprehensive breakdown. All right. I mean, he's got the size 6'3", 214. You know, the QB rating is crazy. The numbers are insane, but he's at Ohio State. Can he do this when he's got mid-talent around him? He's not going to give you these numbers, right? He's not going to give you 40-plus touchdowns and 6 picks or whatever. But can he give you 25 to 30 touchdowns and 9 to 12 interceptions? Can he do that routinely and still give you, 65% completion rate? Like, I think 71 is a little much unless he's going to be the check down king. But, if he could give you 65% completion percentage along with, 25 to 30 TDs and 9 to 12 picks, I think that's a reasonable expectation. But can he do that when he's surrounded by mid-talent? And if he goes to Houston, he's going to be surrounded by mid-talent. Whereas Bryce Young, with the Heisman and all that, I think Bryce Young I think the Heisman is putting him above CJ. I'm not saying that's fair, but I think when you're talking about pedigree and doing it on the big stage, and we know what Bama has, and we know that we know what Bama does in terms of producing players at the next level. Not that Ohio State doesn't, but when you're looking at the QBs that Bama has put out, when you're looking at the skill set, the skill position players that Bama has put out, that's why, to me, to be quite honest with y'all, because I favor C.J. Stroud, I favor him. I think Bryce Young at times looked more dynamic. C.J. is not a runner, right? But that's why AR-15, man. AR-15, if you're looking for that game changer, like, I don't think CJ, even at his best, is a franchise game-changing QB. I think he could be your QB1. I don't know if he's a franchise QB. But AR-15 is that enigma, man. High risk, high reward. He is high risk, high reward. And again, you can say this is a 1-year wonder. You can do all of that type of stuff, and not even that much of a wonder because these numbers aren't great. Like I've been talking about, this 53 completion percentage, this is horrible. This is categorically horrible. But if he could clean that up with mechanics, you see all the other raw stuff is there. All the other raw stuff is there. So to me, as much as it's about Bryce and CJ, AR-15 rocketing up these draft boards, and yes, a lot of it was based off the combine, but even before the combine, you were hearing whispers like, "Yo, Richardson, man." Like you heard the whispers. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, because if you're not sold, like truth be told, if you're the Panthers, is Bryce Young ceiling higher than Anthony Richardson? He's better than him right now, per se, by default. But whose ceiling is higher? Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson? To me, it's Anthony Richardson. And if I have the number 1 overall pick and I'm starting, a rebuild with Adam Thielen and who else they got? DJ Chark. Give me the guy that can just run around and make something happen. I don't know if Bryce Young's going to be able to run around and make stuff happen like he did at Bama. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that off with this size. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. I'll go to the comments one last time. Boogie down almost every QB who goes to a major school in college is a product of the talent around them. People weren't saying that about Baker or Mac Jones when he came out. People were questioning Mac Jones. Yes, people. And Baker, it was a surprise Baker going number 1. So I don't know about that. Like, there were definitely questions about Baker going number 1. And there were definitely questions about Mac Jones coming out of Arkansas. No, not Arkansas. Bama, right? Yeah. So I don't know about that. Bring the heat. I will never trust an Ohio State QB, but Young is 5'10". With cleats, Stroud has better overall physical characteristics than Young. Yeah. And then AR-15's got better physical characteristics than Stroud. So then what? that's kind of the thing. Like, if we're just going off physical, there's nobody more physical. I mean, even though Levis is kind of in between Stroud and AR. But yeah. AR-15 needs a team that he can sit for a year or two. He definitely not sitting 2 years, and work some better fundamentals would help him out so much. Yeah. I mean, his mechanics are not great. That I've been riding that for a minute here. His mechanics are not great. The footwork, it's very much like Justin Fields in Chicago. I think that there's a lot to be desired there in terms of footwork. Bryce Young isn't even Kyler Murray level of good. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. I think Kyler is definitely more athletic. Could Bryce be a better thrower of the football? I would have to go back. I haven't gone into the lab and done my whole watching draft tape stuff yet. But that's an interesting question. Is Bryce Young better than Kyler Murray? I mean, Kyler Murray got paid. I don't know if that means that he's better. Just means he got paid. All right, let's see. I'll do one last check of the timeline. Don't see nothing new as of yet in NBA or NFL. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I don't know if y'all care about the Isaiah Thomas Jordan thing. I think that shit is a little tired, but some people just like talk about hot takes and old athletes arguing. Yeah, there's not that much going on right now. All right. Just do one last check. Chet Holmgren. Nope, don't care about that. All right. I think that wraps it up for me. I appreciate y'all pulling up and being able to tap in. We'll get into some Kyrie, Luka stuff tomorrow. Tim Hardaway also said some things, and the show that he was on, if you notice, Tim Hardaway doesn't really get publicized that much anymore, and if you know why, if you know, you know. But I'm not surprised that the platform that put him on is hosted by an ex-con. So that kind of shows you what type of show it would have to be to give Tim Hardaway Jr. shine or a spotlight to get his takes off in 2023. It takes a show hosted by an ex-con for that to happen. So I will wrap it up there. I appreciate y'all for pulling up, being active in the chat. Another hour and 40 plus minutes. Y'all been strong all week. We're going to finish off the week even stronger. So for Timeline T, I'm your host, the Sam D, a.k.a. St. Joseph Jr. Peace.